Hi, everyone. Last week we talked about what is programming, why programming is useful, and this week we'll continue that discussion and open up R and see what are all the cool things we can do with R. In this class, we'll teach you a lot of cool things you can do with programming. First, how to clean messy field data and remember what you did to it, which is a huge benefit over editing in, for instance, Excel, which doesn't keep a record of what you do. And second, how to create beautiful high-resolution maps and figures for journal articles, as well as calculate summary statistics for a data set and automating tasks that you would otherwise have to do a whole bunch of times. Other stuff beyond this class to continue your journey are you can use programming to answer questions in your field. Matrix algebra, solving annoying equations, running statistical tests. If you're in the TTP program, traffic simulations. If you're in ecology, analyzing ecological networks, understanding the role of a keystone species. There's all kinds of things that you can use programming to help you with. And in this class, we'll especially gain skills related to data management, data visualization, and repeating tasks. So let's talk about R specifically. What's special about R? R is a package-based language, and because of that, you can do a lot of powerful, big tasks with only a few lines of code because someone else has bothered to condense all the things that you need to do into a very simple um, couple of instructions. It also has a big user base that uses and refines it, and it's free. So even after you leave UC Davis, you'll always have access to R. So now let's talk about RStudio, and I'm going to show you how to open up an R project file. So I'm going to go to this folder that I called R Davis 2024. And here's a folder called R Davis in Class Project eZooFile. That's me. And you should have one just like it that is from the repository that you set up last week in class. So I'm going to open up this folder, and there's a file here called rdavisinClassProject.rproj. Uh, the fact that it's a .rproj, that's how we know that that's the file we need to open. That's our R project file. So go ahead and double click on that. And now it's going to take you to RStudio. And so you can go ahead and open up that RStudio window. And it's going to look like this. Wait for it. Okay, here we go. So here is our interface, our RStudio environment. And RStudio is an interface that has a lot of features that's way more user-friendly than just using the console with just raw R code. There's a lot of different bells and whistles in RStudio, and we'll go over some of the ones that we'll need in this class right now. So first, on the left, you have the console. The console is where code shows up when you run it. So for instance, if I were to just write 1 plus 1, it shows the code I just ran and the output as well. Um, so if I were to write 2 plus and then hit enter, well, now it's different. Now it shows a plus sign. That means the line of code isn't finished yet. So I can either finish the line of code by finishing the equation, or another option is to just hit escape if you make a mistake or something. So that's the console. That's a place where your code and the output shows up. You also have this window up at the top right that's called environment. It also has a bunch of different tabs: history, Git, connections, tutorial. The environment shows the variables that you're working with. So for instance, let's say we wanted to create a variable called X and assign it the value of 1. Then we see up we have a list started where our first variable is called X and it has a value of 1. So in addition, there's the Git tab, which Tara is making a tutorial on committing and pulling and pushing, kind of like what we did last week. So that's the tab that you would go to use version control and to push the changes that you've made to the remote version online, and then to pull just to make sure you're up to date with everything that might have happened online. That's especially important if you have collaborators. You'll want to make sure that you always pull changes from online, especially if you have collaborators, because stuff might have changed. And then you'll make your changes and then push back. So that's the Git tab. Then down here in the bottom right, we have files. And this files tab shows all the files and folders in our repository. So because we all have the same template, we have this folder called data. We have our project file, and we have this README file. And I'll just put a couple changes here to show you this README is editable. And just Control S to save. And you'll notice that when I do that, it goes from blue with a star, which means there's unsaved changes on this file. And now when I hit Control S, it turns white, which means there are no unsaved changes on this file. Okay, so that's the Files tab. And notice that when we opened up a file, our console shrank. So now our console is only the bottom left, and the R scripts or other files that we're looking at are in the top left now. Okay, so let's go to a new file, and we'll create our very own R script to get started. So you can use the console, but instead it's best to make a script for every new thing that you want to do and every individual task that you want to do. Because this console, every time we open up R, it starts fresh. So you're going to lose your data from the console every time you open up R, which means it's not reproducible. So we're going to create a new file. Instead of untitled1, we're going to call it week 2 intro to R. And notice that when we make this file, it shows up in our list of files right there. Okay, so another thing to note is that every time you close